Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order. It is 6:02 p.m. and this is the regular meeting of the Kaneland Board of Education. We would like to inform all board member attendees that this meeting is being live streamed and archived for access at any time by our community members on the internet within 24 to 48 hours of the meeting's conclusion. Mr. McCauley, will you please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, and a roll call, please.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Here.
Mr. Mankiewicz.
Here.
Mr. Cook.
Here.
Dr. Lawler's absent. Mr. McCauley.
Here.
Mrs. Simmons. Here. Mr. Kleisner.
Here.
Okay, with 6 members present, we do have a quorum. Dr. Lawler should be showing up at some point during the meeting, and Mr. Kleisner is calling in remote as he's on business. He's out on business. Okay, is there anything the board would like to move from the consent agenda to new business? Okay, if not, I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda to update H11, the field trip notification, to the corrected version, and to add the Illinois Open Meetings Act, Section 2C1, to the closed session portion of the meeting. At this point, I'll now entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Kleisner.
Aye.
Mrs. Simmons. Aye. Mr. Cook.
Aye.
Mr. McCauley.
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Mr. Mankiewicz.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. The agenda is approved. It's now time for the board/superintendent salutes, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Layden.
Yes, thank you. For tonight's meeting, we do not have any identified salutes to celebrate, but just as a reminder, our next meeting will be our opportunity to recognize our principals for Principal Appreciation Week and Month. So that'll be at the next meeting, and then the following meeting in November, we have board member appreciation, so we'll have an opportunity to recognize and appreciate our board members for their work. And then December, Mr. Rollman comes back again, and Mrs. Patterman from the middle school to share our fall sports season highlights. So while we don't have any tonight, know that the next 3 meetings, we do have them coming to recognize those individuals at the next series of meetings. So thank you.
Okay. Dr. Rowland.
Not at this time.
No? Okay. Okay. So, at what point are we going to honor
These are James.
Okay.
Yeah, that's new business.
So I'm going to skip over this portion. Okay, tonight's consent agenda contains the following information. The approval of the Treasurer's Report, September 2024. Approval of the minutes, September 30th, 2024 regular meeting. Approval of personnel. Approval of the destruction of audio recordings from closed session meetings from April 2023. Approval of ISBE school maintenance grant application. Approval of the 2025-2026 budget calendar. And the following informational items. The student suspension data report, the first quarter budget report, enrollment report from September 30th, 2024, employee position report, the updated field trip notification, and the Freedom of Information Act report. At this time, I will now entertain a motion to approve the consent items listed.
So
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Simmons. Aye. Mr. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Mr. Cook.
Aye.
Mr. McCauley.
Aye.
Mr. Mankiewicz.
Aye.
Mr. Kleisner.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries 6-0. The consent agenda is approved. Okay, go ahead and proceed to public comments. Okay, we have a couple people signed up, so we use the public comment section as an opportunity to listen to our stakeholders. The board does not debate or engage in conversation during this time. I'd like to remind everyone to state your name and village of residence for the record. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. Public comment is a maximum of 30 minutes with a 20-minute total length of time for any one subject. Those who speak are asked to maintain a tone of courtesy and civility. This time I'd like to call Audrey Worth.
Thank you. I'm Audrey Worth. I live in North Aurora. My students attend Kaneland schools. My name is Audrey Worth, and I'm a parent of 2 students in our school district. My older son is 11 years old and in 6th grade at Harder Middle School. His bus route, along with several other bus routes in Kaneland, is a transfer route. It's shared between Harder Middle School and Kaneland High School. We live 7 miles from his school, but my son's bus travels 28 miles home. We live just 12 minutes from the school, but it takes over an hour for his bus to get him home. The Illinois State Board of Education recommends that students do not ride the bus for longer than an hour. As you know, I wrote to the school board about this, and the response I received cited reasoning such as limited district resources, a limited number of buses and drivers being available. I researched this further, and I also met with Dr. Bogan and Dr. Rollwing, thank you, and here are some key facts that I learned. The Illinois State Board of Education mandates Kaneland provide free transportation for its students. Kaneland receives reimbursement from the state for a percentage of transportation costs, including bus driver wages, fuel, oil, tires, and other supplies. Our transportation department is responsible for developing all of the bus routes, and it uses software called Versatrans to assist with mapping the routes. It's a big job considering almost 70% of Kaneland students ride the bus. There are 48 bus routes and 62 buses. However, I discovered that 10 of those buses are not being used during our route times. 10 empty buses. They could be used to potentially eliminate some of these long transfer routes in our district. Kaneland also has smaller activity buses that could be utilized, but Kaneland does not have enough drivers. As of a couple weeks ago, there were 3 unfilled bus driver positions and 2 more bus drivers were on leave. At times, the district's mechanics have filled in to help drive the buses. There are currently 38 drivers. The district would need approximately 55 drivers to eliminate the transfer routes and mobilize those 10 empty buses. There is a known bus driver shortage, but I do believe that we can still attract drivers to our district. For example, the bus parked at the high school in Maple Park with a sign advertising the need for bus drivers. Can we move it to Sugar Grove along Route 47 so it will be seen by thousands of people instead of just hundreds? Can we consider advertising locally to Wabansie Community College's CDL program? Actually, I want to spread the word in Kaneland right now. The starting wage for our bus drivers is over $27 an hour. There's paid training, licensing, and flexible scheduling. No holidays, no weekends, and optional summers. Pretty ideal. There are full-time, part-time, and even substitute driving positions available. So please apply, spread the word. Finally, locating the buses and transportation department to the land at Harder Middle School has been discussed as part of our referendum. This relocation will also help eliminate the transfer routes because transportation would be centrally located in the district. I urge the school board to make this a priority for the children. Parents, members of the community, I want to urge you to vote yes for the Kaneland referendum. Tell your friends and neighbors too. If we want change, we have to give our administration the tools and finances to make these changes. The transfer bus routes have been in place since Harder Middle School was built 15 years ago. It's time for a change. So let's get drivers in those 10 empty buses, vote yes for the referendum in April, and move transportation to Harder to give our children a more reasonable commute to and from school. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, next up we have Megan Musano.
Hi again, for those of you who I've seen before. I'm Megan Musano. I'm the mom of kindergarten twins, and God willing and hopefully twins with a real big future ahead of them. And that's what I'm excited about, is the future my twins have ahead of them. I'm excited for the future football games, track meets, all that sort of stuff, but I'm also really excited for the education and opportunity that they're going to have at this district. We're going to be lifers, so again, I'm just warning you. Sorry, I only have kindergartners. I am also excited for our ability to work together on that future. And I want to thank you guys, both the administration and the board so far, because I've already seen those opportunities to work together. I've had the chance to join some committees, and everybody has been really open and honest and even willing to call me to answer some of the questions, as I see you did with one of the other parents. So I appreciate that. But at the same time, I was excited to hear some of the changes that were made after, not due to my speaking per se. Last time when I spoke, I was talking about our curriculum and the lack of the evidence-based science of reading curriculum, specifically in K-5. So Dr. Sarah Mum did give me a call, and she told me about some of the changes that were made for this year for ELA and math, which should be coming soon, hopefully next year. But really quick, I want to hand out this. So just pass along. There's plenty for everybody. It's a quick comparison, just the chart. I took this straight off the internet of IAR scores. That's our state standardized test we use for grades 3rd through 8th grade. As I spoke last time, I'm concerned that our district is even below the state average. Before I compared us, Batavia, Geneva, St. Charles, we were talking 10, 15, even 20 points below them. But even just us compared to the whole state, we're below the state. And if you look at the numbers that I hand wrote in ELA, our district, which is on the left side, we only have 31.9% of kids who are meeting or exceeding grade level expectations. That means over 2/3 of our kids are not at reading level. Same, actually worse numbers with math. 27.3% of our students last year were meeting or exceeding those expectations in math, which means over 2/3 of our school district, of those 3rd through 8th grade, are below state standards. I have higher expectations for Kaneland, and I think you guys do, and I know the rest of the parents do, and I know the teachers do. And that's the part that I'm also encouraged by and looking forward to. I know that we're starting to give more to our teachers to be able to teach those state standards, those required standards they have to teach. But I want to know if it's enough. I went and asked a couple veteran teachers and a couple new teachers, do they have what they need to teach those required standards? And I believe there are some holes. Holes that they're going to teachers pay teachers to get what they need to fill those holes. I challenge you guys to do the same. Ask the teachers if they have what they need. I know we have more, and I'm excited, but thank you. I challenge that forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. As a reminder, there's a second opportunity for public comment near the end of the meeting, so welcome to sign in. Okay, we'll go ahead and proceed to the new business portion of the meeting. And first item of new business is the Board of Education Art Awards recognition for 2023-2024. Dr. Layden.
Thank you, President Gonzalez, and thank you to our Board of Education. These are our Board of Education Art Awards that you're about to meet some of our fantastic students and staff members in a few minutes, but this is only made possible because of the Board of Education to allow the funding of the framing of the artwork, and then also the $25 gift card for the second place student, and then the $50 check for the first place student. So that is about to take place in a couple minutes. If you come to this side. So what we'll do is we'll have each of our art teachers from the 6 buildings come up here. Then their student will also join them when they read their student's name. We will then, the student can hold the artwork, or the teacher will hold the artwork, or Dr. Rowling will hold the artwork. And parents, please come up and take pictures. At this point, I give you permission. If your son or daughter's mad or angry, say, "Superintendent told me to come and do it." So come up, take pictures, and then when we're done, if you would please, David Chavez, our Director of Communications, when you leave, please leave together, go out by the 6th grade team room, the stairs going up to 8th grade, and we'll get the full photo of all of our art award winners, and we'll make sure we put it in the KCN and District Bulletin and on the website to recognize our awesome artists accordingly. All right, so with that, we will start, and we will have Miss Carlene Gregg come up to recognize our 2 students from Kaneland, John Stewart. Are you doing Liv first? Okay. Come over here.
This is Liv. I'm Carlene Gregg. I'm the art teacher at Kaneland John Stewart Elementary. I'm going to apologize now for my voice. I apologize. But this was 5th grade, and unfortunately she had to go to Harder Middle School. But what we studied here was still life, as you can see, but we were also talking about more of drawing realistically. I got a lot of feedback from my students wanting to know how to draw more realistic. And so with that, taking it back to the basics, doing a still life, doing very simple objects such as the apple, explaining to the students that nothing is one solid color. And so having them understand the layering of color. So obviously their base colors were red, but then how do we accentuate that redness with highlights and shadows? And so then that went into a whole nother conversation of what is a highlight, what is a shadow, how does our light source play into that? And so Liv did an excellent job bringing in the highlights. We talked about cast shadows as well and how they are laid out where it's darker closer to the object and slowly fades away. You can also see if you come up here, closely you can see multiple reds being used, you can see greens, you can see yellows, you can see browns being used in her artwork. Liv personally, she was a quiet student, but a very hard working student. She, I think, excelled in art. She would come in during lunch recess and work on her art projects, clay. But Liv was just a joy to have in my classroom. So, congratulations.
And as a reminder, this artwork, because we are remunerating our students for that, we do keep it. And I am fortunate that in the district office, we are fortunate in the district office because it's displayed in my office and in the hallway and in the conference room. So in Kane County, we have the best decorated superintendent's office and district office because we have our students' artwork, and it's a showcase for anybody that comes in. So it's a great benefit to everybody in our district or anybody that comes to the district office.
Shay, is Shay here? I know. Okay. Shay is now a 4th grader. This was done in 3rd grade. We did add math into art. So this is called a parabolic string art. On the back of the actual art piece itself, there is a pattern that they follow, and they just kind of connect and weave through and make designs with their string art. I think at first Shay did not realize, and I was like, "You're doing the color wheel." And she's like, "I am." I think it just became second nature because I do talk about color a lot in my class. And so I talked to her specifically about the color theory and using that color wheel for just a design purpose and to make it more visually appealing. But they got to choose what type of design they wanted to do. They had to map out their string art and then put it all together. So this was Shay is an excellent student. She goes above and beyond. She's like a class helper. She's always willing to clean up my classroom because it always needs it. But she's always wanting to do more. In fact, at the end of each year, I send home a little sheet, like day 1, day 2, day 3 of like journaling sketches. And she has always come back the first day of school with a journal of her sketches that she's done. So, congratulations.
Okay, show of hands, who's already learned something new about art? It's just great to have the opportunity to hear our teachers share the enthusiasm that they have and then the talent of our students. So next, Mrs. Grigg from John Shields. We'll start with second. Sunny?
Oh, Sunny.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
Sunny. There we go. Okay, Okay, this is Sunny. He is currently in first grade, but he made this wonderful piece of art when he was in kindergarten. Not only did he do this project in kindergarten, but it was the very first project of the school year. So he's brand new to Kaneland, John Shields, and brand new to the art room, and he just blew me away from day one. I couldn't believe how amazing he did. So in kindergarten, we do a lot of focusing on craftsmanship, just simply staying inside the lines. We focus on lines and shapes, so drawing, painting, use of materials, paint, clay, all of those things. It's just a really big year of exploration in art and just experiencing different concepts and different materials. So with this, we use tempera paint, watered down tempera paint for the background, and added the little bee feature to the corner, and he was delightful, just did such a wonderful job, really controlling the paint. It's really hard for 5-year-olds to do that for some of them, and he just excelled at it. So he really blew me away. He's just a delight in class. I enjoy having him. He's the sweetest little boy you would ever meet, and I'm excited that he's only in first grade because I get to keep him for several more years before Harder snatches him away. So nice job, Sonny.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Okay, and then Clara is next.
Congratulations.
Okay, this is Clara Putzler. She is currently in 3rd grade, but she created this in 2nd grade. So beginning in 1st grade, we start talking about weaving as an art form. And in 1st grade, we simply do a paper weaving and a tabby weave of over, under, reversing every row. So then in 2nd grade, we build upon that, and we continue to use paper, but then we start adding in the element of yarn, which is very common in weaving blankets and textiles, sweaters, things like that. So the challenge for this is always the reversal of every row. So starting with an under, and then the second row going over, under, over. And some students takes a while to click, and other students, like Clara, it just clicks right away. And they have a lot of choice of colors and lengths of yarn and different things like that. And as you can see, she really just put it together to make a nice whole composition that gels and blends together really well. So I love textiles, I love weaving in my class, and I really like to impart that on my students as well. So Clara's also just a joy to have in class. I just truly enjoy all of my students and being able to share my love of art with them, and hope that by the time they graduate high school that they have this really great foundation of art and creativity. And she's well on her way of becoming an artist, and I think that's really great. So nice job, Clara. Sorry, Mom wants a picture.
Mr. Faulkner, when they are done with the picture out there, can you just please collect them back in the main office somewhere, and then we'll get them back over to the district office tomorrow? Yep, thank you. People try to make a run for it. They try to get out the door and take their artwork home. Next, Mrs. Berth, representing Kaneland Blackberry Creek.
Melanie, come on up, please.
Hi, Melanie.
I'm gonna hold your piece so it's really, really big, okay? All right, well, hi, everybody. This is Melanie, and she's currently in 2nd grade, so she completed this piece when she was in 1st grade. We were focused a lot on creating different types of texture with paint, and so Melanie did a phenomenal job just getting the fluffy kind of texture in the snow and that fluffy kind of fur on the animal. We talked about a different animal too, so a lot of times it seems like we follow certain seasons and themes and geographical areas with certain things.
we pulled out a musk ox. And so we kind of go deep into what a musk ox is and how they're different than other animals. She did a good job kind of depicting that animal too. The other focus that we were working on was tints and shades and understanding how to make lighter and darker values of one hue or one color. And her use of 3 different tints on the musk ox was just an amazing feat in first grade to be able to do. Melanie, as an artist, is such a careful and concentrated artist. She takes her time on everything she does. She is so thoughtful, and she tends to be kind of a quieter artist, and she tends to work very close to her artwork, very close, like in vision to see it. So sometimes it's amazing to me as an art teacher to walk around, and Melanie's hard at work, and I can see all the kids' artwork. I'm checking them all out. I'm not quite sure what Melanie's doing. And then she lifts her head, and I see something beautiful that just amazes me that she has done and been able to do. She also speaks very highly and very proud and loves creating artwork and is so enthusiastic with everything she does. So she did an amazing job with her musk ox. I'm glad that we've got her again in 2nd grade to create some amazing artwork. Thank you, Melanie.
Thanks, Melanie. Picture? She's out. She's out. Congratulations.
So this is Sophie. She's also in 2nd grade. Created this piece when she was in 1st grade. Interestingly enough, she's actually in Melanie's class, and she was last year too. So really artistic classes coming through Blackberry. For this project, we were focused, and we kind of got inspiration from another artist, but we talked quite a bit about silhouettes and how silhouettes have no color. It's basically blocking all the light. You can't see what's on them. And we were focusing on the black silhouetted trees with a really bright and vibrant sunset in the background. When it comes to the trees and the silhouettes, we were talking also about creating highlights on them. And since they are silhouettes and they're black objects, instead of doing a typical white highlight on there, we took the opportunity to pull in a little bit of a cool color to show where the sunlight was actually hitting on those trees and kind of wrapping around them. This one hit a lot of those points as far as our building blocks and art go. We talked about warm colors, cool colors, we talked about silhouettes, we talked about highlights, we talked about all sorts of different things. The texture on the trees, they were tearing the piece of paper to get the texture on the bark, and she did a good job controlling tearing paper, which is a challenge too. And we finished them off with a pop of color. We did a splatter paint, warm color on them, and that was kind of just to bring in the energy and the joy of what nature can bring and kind of the awe that it can have inside of it too. Sophie did a phenomenal job on this piece, obviously, but something that I thought was fun about this piece and Sophie herself, she's literally a ray of sunshine. Like, if you could encompass her personality and everything she thinks and does in a piece of artwork, this one does that with Sophie. So, a joy to have in class, and I'm so thankful I've got her for several more years to come at Blackberry. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yep. Next, Mrs. Skigowski from Kaneland McDowell. Hi, Savannah. Congratulations.
So this is Savannah Brock. That was just double checking last name there. And Savannah did this last year, so it was in 2nd grade. And it's collage. So we began by painting all of the different papers, so the kids were able to kind of plan out what they wanted for the shirt and for the skin and for the hat and for the scarf. And then we did a like an oil pastel resist for the background. And then we put it all together and used actual straw for the hair. And something that my students always hear me say is that my best artists take their time. And Savannah took that very literally, and she spent an entire hour adding all these details. And the more you look at it, the more you see, because she spent so much time and effort putting every little bit of detail into this work. And it just, for a second grader, is above and beyond what I was expecting. So I'm incredibly proud of Savannah. She is an enthusiastic, not quiet, so a little bit different than the others, but very enthusiastic and loving and compassionate kid. I love, love, love having her in my class, and I think she does great work, and I can't wait to see what she comes up with next. So congratulations, Savannah. And Declan? So Declan is our first boy in the art Board Art Purchase Awards, which is awesome. Declan did this in 4th grade. It's another collage. I must be loving collages lately. But he did a variety of techniques. The background has salt to kind of concentrate the color. It's watercolor. And then for the planets themselves, we use tempera paint watered down, and then we put saran wrap on top to kind of scrunch it up to get that texture in all of the planets. We also made it look three-dimensional by using chalk pastels to kind of create that shadow, and talked about how all the shadows have to be going the same direction because of wherever the light would be. And then other art teachers, please don't hate me, but I did let them use glitter. Declan is the definition of a well-rounded student because he's not just artistic, but he's a sporty kid, and he's studious, and he's kind and compassionate, and just everything that you would want in a student. He's amazing, amazing, and I'm so very proud to have him for this one last year before he goes on to do more amazing things. So Declan Murphy, congratulations to you.
Oh, picture. And next from Harder, Mrs. Farr. Victoria.
Victoria. You want to hold it? Okay.
Congratulations.
So Victoria is in art club, and she's currently in my art class. I also had her last year. So in middle school, one of the things that we emphasize is personal art that goes a little outside of the expectations of the assignment. So we study and we look at different artists, we learn techniques, and the starting point for this particular assignment that she did was a bunch of ideas. One of the ideas was the use of space, and that is completely individualistic to how she did it, is the use of space and filling that up really super well. The other thing that happens when you fill the space is you need to balance the color, which she did really well. And then the subject matter is where, that's the interest. People, you can look at this and see all kinds of wacky things in there. The artist that we started with for inspiration was Keith Haring. He was born in '58, died in the '80s, and he was all about love in his art and believed that art should be free. So he would be okay with this. But he gave a lot of his, he would be okay with it. He eventually did start selling his work, but for a long time he just gave it away because he thought art and money didn't quite make sense to him. But Victoria is an exceptional artist. She is this person that just, ideas come from where,
I don't know. She's one of those people where it truly is boggling to the mind where the ideas come from. They just sort of come out. And she's also very good at working on her own skill independently. She'll learn things from me, but she also learns so much on her own. She's personalized learning through and through because she does a lot of this on her own. And I just can't say enough about this piece. It's the best keep hearing I've ever had a kid do. So bravo with that, and good luck in your future with your art, and I hope you're taking class at the high school. You could be a real star in our high school art department, okay? So congratulations, very Okay, there we go.
Got it, thank you.
Thank you. Jocelyn. So we were talking because she didn't do this piece in my class. She did this in John Cornell's class. So we have a semester-long class in 8th grade that it's an elective in 8th grade. And she has taken many of our art classes. Do you want to hold it instead of me? Many of our art classes. She was in my 7th grade art club. You were in 8th grade art club, 7th grade art club, 7th grade art, 8th grade drawing and painting, 8th grade drawing, sculpture, right? You had all the art classes. And you had art in 6th grade with Mr. Purnell. And were you in art club in 6th grade? Okay. So she does art. Now, the other thing you need to know about her is not only does she do art, but this is her passion outside of school is dance. And I've seen her dance. And she is good. Are you on the phone now? Okay. So she's been a real star with dance, and she has expressed that in this artwork. So this is a digital piece that she used Illustrator and Photoshop. We have access to the Adobe programs through our school district, and she did spectacular on this. And it wasn't the only thing that she did spectacular on. Every single project we did, she did exquisitely. So always super proud of her, and I know it's embarrassing to be up here. But, and it doesn't matter what she does. If she goes into art or if she goes into business or finance, she has this ability to concentrate. And I think the arts have helped forge that ability to concentrate. She embroiders at home, crochets, unbelievable talents with her fingers because her fingers have this dexterity to them because of all the little manipulation stuff you've done. So then if you're doing things with your hands at home, then you can fine-tune that at school in art class. So really been great to watch you grow and excel, and I hope you do take art in your future at high school. I mean, she's a freshman now, so she might not fit it in freshman year, but eventually I'm sure they would love to have you. So thanks for
recruiting.
Exactly.
Thank you. I think we heard our little student friend, the one that went outside. Wasn't he saying something about, I want to do art too? And that's why I think he's upset. I think he's upset because he wants to do art, and he can't right now. Mrs. Vanderlinder Birchfield from Kaneland High School. Adriana.
This was done in photography, digital photography, with Mrs. Foy, Mrs. Lacey Foy. So last year, when Adriana was grade 11, she's a senior this year, couldn't make it today, but that's all right. We're still going to talk about it. This one we picked because it just shows really nice composition and photography. They talk about placement of objects on the paper or within the frame. Lighting is interesting. They picked a really nice part of the day where you've got really good shadows. It uses composition in an interesting way where they're doing kind of law of three, and that most interesting things are settled kind of a third of the way from the sides. There's 3 objects in there, and it's kind of evoking a mood in that, you know, we're in a cemetery, there's a person visiting, a grave, there's sort of things that are happening that evoke a feeling or a mood. So they try to express themselves in different ways with their imagery. So this is our black and white photo from photography class. So hopefully if you can get up a little closer and see it, it's amazing. She's our second place winner. And then Lucy, you are here, so come on up. All right, and this is Lucy's Uzi bowl. All right, you can just stand next to you. You can hold it. Sure, all right. This was done in 2D1 last year, your junior year. Senior this year. Are you taking any more art classes? But she's in my art club this year, which is okay, I guess. So I get to see you in art club. This is a colored pencil drawing where we worked from a photo and really tried to add, we talked about layering different colors together, similar to the apples, but taking it a step further now. This is kind of where it goes next, is using mark making with prostate hatching and hatching over top each other and layering different tones together. And Lucy, you've always been really good at really pushing the media that you're given to a really high degree. Your attention to detail is really great in this piece. There's a lot of really fun texture that's happening with the mark making. The color choice is great. And just the movement within the frame is really good as well. Another one of her works, actually last year we took to conference and it got a first place ribbon, I believe, for printmaking. And that's another one where we were etching, and it uses the same sort of mark making, and the attention to detail was amazing on that one as well. So this is just another really good example of your work. I appreciate having you in class and love having you in art club this year, even though you're not taking another art class. I hope you still do art as you move on. So, thank you.
Congratulations. And just as a reminder, students, if you grab your artwork, we'll get the picture out on the stairs. And also, as President Gonzalez shared at the beginning, this part of the board meeting you can find online in 24 to 48 hours. So if you go to Kaneland.org, you can look up under the Board of Education, and you can take this clip, send it to grandma, grandpa, friends, relatives, whomever, send that so they can see your students get recognized as well. So it is a great accomplishment, and it also gives me great pride to always end this section by saying congratulations to our young professional artists, because they've been compensated for their work. So you now see 12 professional artists in front of you. So congratulations to them and our staff. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, thank you. Get your artwork and out by the stairwell. Thank you. Yep. Thank you. We'll make sure we get those to you.
Okay, there's no action required for this item. Excuse me. The second item of new business is the presentation of the PACE framework. Dr. Layton.
Yes, thank you. I think the board may have seen and heard a little bit of preview information about this a year and a half or 2 years ago when it first became a state statute. But what we want to do is make sure that we provide more information through Dr. Horn. If you please come up. I'm not sure if Mrs. Cattell is going to share it all, but we do have more information on the PACE framework, what we are doing at Kaneland, and what it's going to look like moving forward, because it is in state statute, and it is required that we work towards this.
Okay, good evening, thank you. And we do have a slideshow. I think Dr. Mom is getting that. I do believe the board has it, so I'll just make sure that I'm clear for the folks at home who are following along. So the PACE framework, that stands for Post-Secondary Career Expectations. And what that is that's a guideline given to the schools for how to help facilitate the progress that a student makes through high school as they get ready for what we call post-secondary success. So when we talk about that, we're talking about career success, we're talking about success in college, and the readiness that comes through that. So a brief history. Oh, thank you. Is that up now? Okay. All right, so if you go to the next slide, please. Thank you, Bud. So we're back. All right. A brief history of PACE, where this came from. This dates back to 2022 when it was signed into law, Public Act 1020917, and that provided the district with 3 years to put a plan together. So Kaneland High School worked diligently to develop a plan that utilized existing resources. We are very fortunate here at Kaneland, as we always like to tout. We have a plethora of advanced placement classes. We do have emerging dual credit opportunities for students. And then, of course, we always like to showcase our Fox Valley Career Center, as well as a well-rounding opportunities for students to take elective classes at the high school. All of that is what the PACE framework is being asked for school districts to do, is to offer a opportunity for students to have a plan as they go through high school, where they're taking classes that not just fulfill the needs for required for graduation, but really do prepare them for readiness after high school. Dr. Mom, if you go to the next slide. So key attributes of our framework: it is personalized to meet the unique needs of each student. It's based on their own interests and on their 4-year goals. It is not a checklist of things they have to do. It is designed to be flexible. And it does lean into opportunities through Fox Valley Career Center, advanced placement, and as I also referenced, the emerging dual credit courses. Okay, so the next slide. So the part of this is it is designed to be pragmatic, meaning that it's logical. It does provide us with some benchmark for student successes, and it is focused on an overall support for students during high school. And actually, if you can go back, I realized we missed one. Can you go back a few slides? Okay, so are we able to link onto that? That's the framework itself. So I'm realizing that I'm speaking to it without actually showing it. So Dr. Mom, can you zoom in just on the 9th grade, please, a little bit? Okay, it's a little different format.
Dr. Horn, for future reference, where is this accessible?
Oh,
the framework right there, 9th through 12th grade.
The framework is accessible. Well, we're going to be speaking to it on the podcast tomorrow. It will be accessible on our student services homepage at the high school, and the board should have access to this through the documentation that has been provided.
Thank you.
So an orientation, career and tech ed classes, or CTE class, is expected by the PACE framework to happen at the 9th grade level. What that means is that's an introductory to some sort of a CTE class. So when our counselors are meeting with our incoming freshmen and as they get them ready for that freshman and sophomore year, part of Kaneland's graduation requirement is just that they take an orientation CTE class. So think of it as like a Business 1 type class. Under the PACE framework, there are what is referred to as career clusters. And if you were to look at the student, on the student service page of the high school, under our course offering guidebook, the CTE portion of that speaks to the different career clusters. So for my initial reference that I just gave to you, that Business 1, that's an introductory level class. When you get to the 11th and 12th grade, the framework is asking that students are identifying a cluster and are taking not just that introductory level classes, but taking that full rounded one. So in that one example, Business 2 would be that other part to it. It also asks that by the time we get to the 11th grade, that we're looking for opportunities for students that have the opportunity, have the skill, they have the will to go on and take those credit-bearing classes, which currently the predominant number of classes offered at our high school and through advanced placement, that the students are made aware of that. The way we're going about doing that, to speak to what's required of the PACE framework, we're having notification given to parents through emails for students that have indicated that they have the potential through success through the PSAT tests that they took past the spring. PSAT, PSAT 9, 10, and potentially the SAT, depending on what grade level the students are in. In addition to that, all of our counselors have been given lists of students. I myself met with the counselors a couple weeks ago to give them the data, because each student has a one-on-one conference with their counselor. So that way it's not just the parents receiving an email from the school, but the parents are having a one-on-one conference with the students about the potential success they have in those credit-bearing classes. Okay, if we go back to the slideshow, please. All right. So indicators of success. This is necessary for accountability both to the state of Illinois as well as internally. When we look at our own accountability and how we design and structure and schedule at the school, as we present to the school board, we want to make sure that we have those indicators of success that we're monitoring along the way. Freshman on Track is not new to this board. It's something that I have spoken to. It is part of this framework in the sense that in order to be ready for that post-secondary experience, you have to be on track your freshman year. Research bears out time and time again that is a crucial year. Those elective offerings down the road become problematic for students to access if they're in credit recovery courses. That's why we are looking at that as an indicator for how we're doing on that freshman on track. Working with our student services team to make sure that we have established 4-year plans that meet the unique interests of our students, yet are flexible, because we know that part of the high school experience is that they are learning as they go and starting to experience those classes, and with the knowledge that those desired plans are going to change and evolve over time, but that they've been established. Also that they're taking the CTE concentrators, not just that survey introductory level class, but those upper level classes too, and that we're working with the potential for advanced placement or dual credit. And then in addition to that we're exposing them not just through the curriculum and the classes that we offer, but through other opportunities for learning throughout the school day. The high school has a very well-established college and career center. It is housed with our student services. It exists within our cafeteria. It's designed to be fun and engaging. We have a variety of colleges come. We have all branches of the military come, run challenges, provide information for our students. The high school ran a very large career fair with a variety of areas, opportunities for employment after high school, came and met with students, so that we're giving them that opportunity along the way. We are bringing this now because we're in our 3rd year. We're in a good spot, so I want to make sure that the board had a level of awareness to it. Also, when we're doing things such as developing school improvement plans, referencing the PACE framework, just so that you have that level of understanding, and also eventually when we go to scheduling and some of those decisions and recommendation for any type of altercation to programs when we're referencing the PACE framework, just so that everyone would have that level of knowledge.
Dr. Horn, the term concentrator is not common vernacular for a lot of educators or families or parents.
Yep.
Can you share again, just elaborate a little more on what a concentrator is, what types of courses those might be?
So a concentrator, it means that you're not just taking a variety of introductory level classes. So in order to graduate from high school, you have to have, I think it's 1.5 credits of a career and tech ed class or some sort of elective along those ways, which means a semester-long class, because these classes tend to be a semester in nature. What a concentrator means is that you have focused on a particular field of study. So you're not just taking foods one, and business one, and finance one. It's that you've identified an area of interest and you've taken it to that next level. Sometimes it's done through our department within the high school. Sometimes that could be done through the Fox Valley Career Center with our future teachers classes or programs such as that, and those are credit bearing. Sometimes, when I say credit bearing, I mean credit for college bearing. Sometimes it's credit for graduation bearing, but that concentrator means that you've picked a cluster of study, business or finance or agriculture, and that you've taken the introductory level class, whatever that happens to be, as well as that second level class.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Any questions? So there's no action tonight. Just wanted to make sure that as this becomes more prevalent and the communication to students and to the community, want to make sure that the board and the community had awareness of the PACE framework.
Yep.
And it provides information for both career, education,
yep,
including vocational,
correct, absolutely,
as well as college.
correct. And I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, operationally, when we're at high school, we talk about post-secondary, and we make it abundantly clear to our teachers and to our students, we're talking about both, because both have merit. We include military, we include careers. The goal is to be prepared for future learning, whatever that learning happens to be.
And there's a decent outreach to students in special ed or with IEPs?
Correct.
So HB 3296 requires implementation of this, is that correct?
That is correct.
Are we doing anything beyond what the requirements would be, or are we just compliant at this point?
We are compliant in that the plan has been developed and has been executed. Where we have gone above is we haven't just settled for checking the box of advanced placement as being the opportunity to earn credit. We've listened to our students, we've listened to our variety of stakeholders, listened to our parents, and have explored beyond that, and that's that step with dual credit. Dr. Rowling and I have been working with Wabansi to continue to find ways to expand that, which means that we're thinking outside the box and how we're going to be able to offer that for our students. So if we were just being compliant, we would, for the purpose of earning credits, we'd probably just be looking at math and English, because those are the ones that tend to be tested heavily, both on state requirements and are applied to a variety of post-secondary settings, be it community college or university. We offer a well-rounded approach to advanced placement. Lots of offerings with social studies, offering within arts, because we know that students take a variety of different pathways. So I would say that it would be in the variety of offerings we have, particularly for a district in a high school of our size. Usually see that at a much larger organization. So I would argue that we're going above.
And I would actually add to that, and my opportunity to walk around and learn. We have a series of capstone courses where students begin freshman year along a path, and then as they move forward, I had the opportunity the other day to visit our like graphics and design lab, and some of the things they made stickers to put on the side of my truck driving around in case you missed it. But that I know, the crier is an example of that. So we are building, and the vision I think would be to build more and more of these opportunities for kids, not just tip a toe into it, but really get some real world experiences. And I think the number of kids we send to Fox Valley is also indicative of our philosophy on that.
And that and the crier is also a state award-winning paper. So I mean, it's the opportunity that our students are receiving. It is impressive. So I would actually echo that. Yeah, we are going well, but beyond.
Are there plans to build? Oh, sorry.
Plans to, I'm sorry, what was that?
To build on this, to grow?
Yes, opportunities. Yes. So I referenced the desire to expand within dual credit, particularly with our Waubonsee Community College being right in our backyard. That's right now the main focus. But the goal is to fulfill the mission of the district, make sure everyone's graduating college and career ready. And this is the framework, since I'm a fan of working smarter, not harder. This is something that's required. It's giving guidance. It is clear. It's not pigeonholing students. It's giving them a pathway throughout. It's comprehensible to parents. They're able to look at it, to follow it, to guide them. So if we're able to build our plans, our goals around that, and continue to develop and to grow, then that's a win-win for everybody.
And the case manager teachers are given full awareness of this, what's going on, so that it can be incorporated into transition plans, okay.
So it just depends on the IEP and the need of the student and that pathway. But the goal is career readiness. That readiness for a career is going to look different.
This is outside of the scope of Kaneland a little bit, but do you encourage any of the, anyone 16 or up to go look to just straight taking Waubonsee classes either during the school year, after school, or during the summers as an opportunity?
That is an opportunity, and it is something that's currently being discussed, and how to get more students the opportunity to do that. Not to go too far down the rabbit hole. Part of it is earning college credit and high school credit. There has to be things put in place for that to happen. So just because somebody is able to go to Waubonsee and take speech doesn't necessarily mean they speech required for graduation for a Kaneland diploma. But when students, currently where you see that, it is few and far between. I'll be honest with you there. It's usually when students have exhausted, say math, for example. They're really well advanced in math, and they've gone above that calculus level as a junior. Their senior year, finding a way for them to get opportunity to take a college level class at a university. Oftentimes it's done remotely through an online university. So that does exist. It is few and far between, but looking to expand upon that when appropriate and with resources that we have, something of interest.
Yes. All right. Thank you.
Further questions? Discussion? Thank you, Dr. Horn.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Horn.
Okay, there's no action required for this item. The third item of new business is the early entrance to kindergarten proposed revised procedure update. Dr. Layden.
Yes, this is Dr. Mum, just to provide an update and some potential future planning to try to help student success, especially student success as students going to kindergarten. So Dr. Mum's done some research, has some data, and some recommendations for moving forward to try to ensure as much student success for every one of our kindergartners as possible.
So we're going to the opposite end from post-secondary into age 4 entrance. This is a process that is really meant for students to come into the gen ed programming at the age of 4. Our current cutoff in Illinois is you do need to turn 5 prior to September 1st. but there is a caveat that you can, by certain assessments and conversations with parents and observations, enter the gen ed programming by the procedures that the local school district will set at the age of 4. And our current process for that has been just an academic testing, and we would like to review that process a little bit and add additional pieces to it, which I will explain why we want to propose a little bit of a shift to that based on a data review that we did. It is not for students that are looking for early entrance due to a special education need or an early intervention need. It is truly for a student that at the age of 4, they are looking like they are academically ready to begin education. They just aren't 5 yet. And so it is truly for gen ed students, or at times we have parents reach out looking for, my student is having recommendations from their preschool that they are in the gifted range and would like to start at an early age. And that's really what this procedure begins the process of. And so if you flip to the first slide, it kind of gives that history by school code. You do have to be September 1st you have to be 5 by September 1st of the given year that you are going to attend school. It does allow districts, though, to have an assessment that shows that you are at or above the kindergarten academic level to be able to enter at the age of 4. It does say that districts can add a behavioral screening if a district would like to do that, but it is not a current requirement. It also does say in school code that you can ask the parents questions. You can ask for a survey of the parents. You can ask and get an interview process with the child as well, but not a requirement of the state. The only requirement is that you do some type of academic testing, which for the past 23 years, that is what we have been doing. We have been doing the COGAT test, which is a nationally normed test that we have done national percentiles and having them score in the 63 percentile or above. We did pull some data from the last 20 years of early entrance testing. We have approximately 20 or 30 kids that do come starting in February and ask for early entrance testing. We typically have assessed them in June, July, and August just to try to give them the maximum amount of time and exposure in preschool. And since we were only focusing on academic testing, it made sense to do it in summer testing to allow them more academic exposure. But looking at the data, what we had found is in a given summer, we do that academic testing. We've had approximately 118 that we have assessed over the 20 years. And then what we have done is tracked them up through their 3rd grade year. And we look at our MTSS data to see how many of them, as they entered at the age of 4, have then come back and circled around of needing academic assistance through MTSS at any of their grade, kindergarten, 1st, or 2nd, or have they come up needing behavioral MTSS supports in kindergarten, 1st, or 2nd. And then we compared that to the average percent of students that need academic assistance or behavioral assistance. And the trend that we are seeing is those that have entered at the age of 4 typically are needing a lot of behavioral supports initially in kindergarten, a little bit less in 1st grade, a little bit less in 2nd grade, but in comparison to the cohort of those entering at the age of 5 are definitely needing more behavioral support and definitely needing more academic support as they are getting up in 2nd and 3rd grade. This telling us 2 things. A, we want to make sure that we add a behavioral screener to see not only are you might be academically ready to enter at the age of 4 based on the nationally normed COGAT test. We would like to also add a behavioral screener because sometimes your preschool experiences or in-home daycare experiences, or sometimes you might not have had a previous preschool or formal school setting experience, doesn't always prepare you for a full classroom with up to 20, 24 peers, and those behavioral needs in a larger class setting with larger peers become more prevalent when you are in that larger classroom setting. And so we'll get to our recommendations here in a second. Some other interesting data points for you. Typically the average request is when we have students that have an October birthday. They have just missed by a month or so. Those are the average month that we have requests of my child has just missed it by a month. However, we have tested students all the way up to January. They won't be 5 until their January, which will be mid-year of their kindergarten year. And so that is a very young 4-year-old. They will be continually younger within their entire graduating class. Some other data points, you have approximately 25% that we test in early entrance pass the academic portion of it. So out of all that we test, only a fourth of them do pass the academic within the range showing at or above the academic. And then they do have the ability to retest that test. And typically you will have 0 passing a second time administering the test. So it really, the COGAT has proven to be a solid academic test to use to really show even when they are re-administered the test, they rarely have improved their score academically. So I feel very confident that that is a good still academic screener, but the behavior piece I feel is something that we strongly need to consider adding to the procedure for sure, especially based on our data. So a little bit about our review process that we took this fall, and we started thinking about this probably for about a year or so, and then this spring really dove into the data pieces in the summer, and then definitely pulled the data this fall to review it. We looked back at the past 5 years specifically of our MTSS data, and then pulled it back following our cohorts of kids for the last 20 years. We went to other districts this fall and asked, what have your procedures been, just to see how our Kaneland procedures compared to the other districts that we have, that we meet with at the Regional Office of Education, and I can share that data in a couple slides. We also met with our kindergarten staff because they also shared their concerns every fall of, we don't share with our kindergarten staff which ones have qualified through early entrance. Of course, they can look up birth dates and student records, but usually around late September, they often are contacting our office asking about early entrance testing, and can you share with us who you tested this summer, because they are starting to identify MTSS behaviors. And very typically, I then go out and observe the student within the classroom around this time of the year, and that's how we begin to identify our MTSS behavioral needs. And so we met with them this fall through our curriculum chat process, which is a process we meet every Wednesday morning. I meet with a different grade level to discuss just here are some updates either from the state or region or my office, and they ask questions. And at our kindergarten one, we discussed if we do a behavioral screener, what would you like on that behavioral screener? What are some non-negotiables that need to be a part of that screener that we can observe in a 30 to 40 minute setting within the classroom that are something that we could document in a measurable manner. And so they were able to give us statements that can be observed by a behavior facilitator or myself or an administrator doing the test. And then we also looked to our administrative team and asked that same question, as well as our MTSS coordinator staff, to be able to start to build that behavior screener. On the next slide, part of the review process when I went to speak with the other districts, those districts that had an established behavior screener as well, I did ask for copies of those screeners, and out of the 8 districts that responded, 8 of them shared their behavior screeners with me, and 8 of them were pretty much exactly the same, and so that gave me a whole lot of confidence. Also, a lot of the statements on there were very similar to what we had heard from the kindergarten staff when asking what type of observable things would you like to have us assess, and our MTSS staff statements as well. The other parts that I got in interviewing and discussing this process with other districts are some forms that they also gave the parents when the request for testing happened. They do give open-ended questions to their parents as well as a checklist. Do you see your child doing these things at home? And it was kind of a yes, sometimes, maybe, checklist, and then 3 or 4 open-ended questions about the way that your student interacts or have conversations when you were at the dinner table or in the car or with not strangers, but when you're out in the in public, and so we had also incorporated a couple of those open-ended questions as part of the request process. They were consistently in a couple of, I would say in 5 of the districts, they had similar open-ended questions along with the checklist that parents fill out with the request for the process. Some other information that we found that Dr. Bogan and I have discussed and that we would come back during the fee process in December is that out of the 8 districts that we discussed, 4 of them do charge a fee to parents. The fee does vary from district to district, and so that is something that we have discussed at Cabinet and we'll bring back in December for a board to discuss if we would charge a fee. We have not currently charged a fee at Kaneland for the process at all. And then 6 had a required checklist. 4 of them had required open-ended questions. So with all of that research and data and really looking the need to shift our process has not shifted in the last 22 years. It is definitely time, especially with the behavior screener. We also are looking to shift the timeline. To do a behavior screener effectively, you need to have a classroom for them to be part of, and we cannot rely on summer school classrooms because there would not be any guaranteed 5-year-old classrooms. We just started the possibility of jump start to kindergarten this past year in our summer school programming. That was the first year, but I don't want to rely on making sure that there's a kindergarten jump start classroom. And so in talking with the other districts, all of them do have a process that starts in February and concludes by May 1st. And so I would recommend with our procedures that we follow that same timeline, starting and opening around our kindergarten jumpstart or opening registration, which always happens the first weekend in February. That is when kindergarten registration opens. It's February 8th. Mark your calendars if you have a 5-year-old or if you would like to request a 4-year-old. It would start February 8th of this year. A parent would fill out the request at this time to request the academic assessment. The academic request would come to me depending on the fee or not fee, depending on the board approval of that fee in December. That fee would be paid at the time of the request in February. The parents would fill out the checklist and the open-ended questions. Once that packet is completed and sent into the school, then I would meet with the child and do the COGAT testing in February or March. Once that testing is complete and the child has passed that threshold of 63% or above, which is the national norm for the COGAT test, then we would set up the time where we could have a 30 to 40 minute screener in a kindergarten classroom that the behavioral screener checklist could be observed. That checklist would be observed by one of our behavior facilitators, MTSS coordinator, or ed service department, which would be me. Then based on that checklist, we would want the student to have no concern areas marked based on our checklist, and then all of those would conclude by May 15th. The May 15th deadline for 2 reasons. A, that gives our kindergarten classrooms the ability to wrap up the end of their year with a variety of activities. Assessment happens at that time, and we don't want to have a behavioral assessment happening during a different time of activity that you couldn't really observe small group activities or different activities, or an assembly is happening. That would be a very unstructured, difficult time to do a typical behavior observation. And so by May 15th allows that to happen. It also allows us to look at the numbers of students that would have qualified academically and behaviorally so that we can give a more distinct number of how many early entrance students that we do have entering, and put them into our class lists and planning for staffing and materials and all of that good stuff as well. So why, I asked the question to the other districts of why even consider fees being assessed. Because we are doing that behavioral screening, you are having staff take time from their jobs to do that 30 to 40 minute screener. So that is kind of the additional cost that we don't currently do for our assessment, because we do not have a current behavioral screener, and it does take a portion of time and reallocating it to that. Not that there is a large pool. Again, we We have about 20 to 30 requests every year for students. I also do think that sometimes when there is a fee associated with it, the families may think, is this, something that I really analyze the process possibly a bit more? Is this something that I am looking, and maybe the checklist will also help. Is this something that I know my child is really ready for, or am I kind of on the fence with it? And I think the checklist and maybe fees and the larger, more robust process might help families make that decision a little bit more in detail. And there's a little bit more cost of materials with, we do have to replenish the COGAT. The COGAT test is, I think the last time we purchased it was in 2009. I always laugh every summer when I give it because the last question on the test does have a telephone with a cord on it. And the students always have no clue what that is. And I'm just like, skip that question. It's not the right answer anyway. But they have no idea what a telephone with a cord is. But we have not purchased the new COGAT test as well, and we do need to probably purchase the new version of it.
Of the districts you pulled that do assess fees, what's the range?
The highest range is $500, and I think the lowest range was about $175 to $200. I'd say it was really anywhere in between $175 and most were probably on the $300 to $500.
And you haven't determined your fees yet?
We've talked right around that 200 range. I know we're going from zero, and so we didn't.
And I think the idea for us, right, is we're really looking at, okay, we're covering our cost, right? The idea is not to make money off of a family,
Right.
for the entrance. And so what are the costs of that COGAT? What is the cost of the time for those behavioral assessments? And so that's where we sort of pay that lower end, right, around that 200 or 250 makes more sense.
My only concern would be, what if you have a gifted child and they struggle financially and they're not, afforded this opportunity? I guess that's the obvious. I hate to state the obvious, but.
Yeah. I do wonder, how do fee waivers go into it?
Yeah.
I don't. I think that's probably something we need to research into it.
Right.
We can definitely bring that back with the
Yeah.
Just something to consider.
That's a great question.
Or could they show excellence in kindergarten and then maybe go to second grade or something like that and see what type of fee? Just wait a little.
And we have had families that have come in the summers and have done the early entrance testing at the age of 4 and have not passed the early entrance testing, and then they have come back the next summer and tested to skip kindergarten and enter first grade instead of kindergarten. And they have entered first grade at the age of 5. And so there are opportunities as well. If early entrance didn't work out, we also have our procedure where you take our post tests for kindergarten to skip kindergarten, enter at the age of 5 to first grade. And that is typically summer testing because we have our post exams from kindergarten. You don't really have post exams from a preschool to get into kindergarten, and school code's a little tighter on the age of 4.
Welcome, Doctor.
If you want to go to the next one, the communication plan. We are here to talk just a little bit about the website or the process, and we want to share. This process obviously will be on the website with the Board of Education. We do want to start to get the information out that the process is shifting. I know we have some families that probably have previously discussed the process happening in June. I think we have done it for 23 years of June testing, and so we want to try to break that cycle because it would have to be definitely a hard, fast last request and last done by May 1st. And so we would really want to start to publicize around now through December that it opens in February and does conclude in May, because there would not be that ability to do a behavioral screener past May 1st. And so while the process wouldn't start until February, we would want to start communicating with families, just as now we are starting to communicate. Kindergarten fair is going to be happening in February. If you do have a student at the age of 5, mark this date. If you have a possible age of 4 gen ed early entrance, this would be the time frame of it, just to try to break that cycle of thinking about it earlier, because I would not want to have someone not think about it till June and then miss the possibility of engaging in the process. And then we would be back in December around that fees process to determine that fee. We would kick it off on February 8th. They can submit at that time the request, fill out the parent checklist, and pay the fees. We would start COGAT testing. When we send out our registration packets in January, in the nightly news, the websites, all of that good stuff. And then we would also hit open houses in February and April. That is when tending to get where we get a whole lot of questions at open houses. When they're here with other students, they're like, oh, I do have a possibility of a 4-year-old. And so I tend to get a lot of calls in February through April after open houses. And that's when I usually set my summer calendar for testing. And I would assume that's when we would be doing a lot of the setup for this type of testing. And of course, we would post on the websites. So it's definitely a tighter time frame, but I really think I want to emphasize that behavioral screener I feel is really a must based on our data and based on the need for behavioral MTSS specifically. I think that data is very telling, and I hope that we can really add that piece in this year. Last slide is just open ideas and questions. Anything that you feel we needed to also add, or questions that I should look to maybe clarify that I can bring back in December when we come back with the fees associated with it. It's not a formal approval of the process because it's just a procedure, but
the fees in December would be the
yes,
formal approval.
It will be
correct?
a formal approval of the fee. Okay.
Questions? Thank you, Dr. Mumm.
Right, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mumm.
Okay, there's no action for this item, so we will continue on. It's now time for the superintendent/board report, and we're going to switch it up a little bit and start with Ms. Slattery.
Good evening. Here's just some fall sport updates from within the last 2 weeks. Varsity football fell to both Sycamore and Rochelle, making their record now 4-3. They'll play LaSalle Peru at home this Friday. This home game will also be their senior night, representing the senior football players, cheerleaders, dance team, and marching band members. Varsity volleyball beat Rochelle and LaSalle Peru, but also lost to Morris and Ottawa. This Thursday, they'll play Sycamore at home, which will also be their senior night. Varsity soccer beat Sycamore and LaSalle Peru, fell to Morris and West Aurora, and tied with Rochelle. They'll play DeKalb at home tomorrow. Also yesterday, the annual Interstate 8 Leadership Conference was held at Morris Country Club in Morris. Nominated student leaders from Kaneland High School and other schools in the conference met and went over leadership skills and listened to keynote speakers together to help improve their positions. Finally, Student Council is raising money for the Disabled Veterans Organization for Veterans Day. Every $10 raised is a American flag that will be put out in the lawn of the high school. And the last day to raise money for that is October 28th. And then that's all I have for tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Bogan?
Yes, I have a few updates. Just as a couple reminders for the board, tomorrow the Health Insurance Committee, which I co-chair along with Patty Reeder, is scheduled from 4 to 5:30 at the district office, and Jennifer Simmons is our representative from the Board of Education. Tomorrow we also have our first Finance Advisory Committee meeting of the year, which is also at the district office from 7 to 8:30 p.m. There is no assigned Board of Education member on this committee, but all of you are welcome to attend. So, I also have an update regarding the track. I know I had sent an update earlier. We did make progress last week and work continued. Unfortunately, the team was supposed to be back Monday and Tuesday, today of this week, to do the gray exchange zones, and they weren't able to put that down due to high winds. And so the plan is they will be back tomorrow to finish that work, and then they are going to stop work for the remainder of the week because we do have that home football game. And so they will be back next week, weather pending, to finish up any of the surfacing, and then also painting is anticipated to begin next week as well. So throughout this process, you know, our Director of Buildings and Grounds, Mr. Mark Payton, has continued to work very closely with David Roman to just ensure that none of our scheduled events are interrupted, and that has been going according to plan. So it's been exciting to see work continue, and we are inching closer to having a fully operational track that's available to not just athletes, but all of our students at the high school, as well as community members. So, any questions on that?
Done by?
I don't want to give a date just because it's weather pending right now, but if everything goes to schedule, there's a possibility that it would be late next week with that painting finished. So.
Okay.
And then I have one last update I would like to share. I do want to express our appreciation. We have extremely vigilant parents and community members, and we're really fortunate as a district because we often receive notifications when they observe safety concerns, particularly related to bus safety. Unfortunately, not everyone always adheres to the rules of the road. When our buses are stopped, either picking, you know, when kids are getting on or kids are being dismissed. Sometimes our bus drivers and community members or parents do know that other vehicles are going around stopped buses that have the stop arms out or those flashing lights on. We take those very seriously, whether it's a driver reporting it or a parent calling in to notify us. Anytime that happens, our transportation department, they do notify the Kane County Sheriff's Office or the appropriate local law enforcement agency of those violations, so that we can help curb some of that activity. With that in mind, I do want to share that next week, October 21st through October 25th, is National School Bus Safety Week. And it really just helps remind us of the critical role our entire community plays in keeping students safe when they travel to and from school. Over the course of next week, our district, in particular the transportation department, will be sharing safety-related information to help promote safe behaviors for students, drivers, and the public. I also want to mention that on October 22nd, we will be recognizing and celebrating School Bus Driver Appreciation Day. It's an opportunity to recognize our drivers' dedication and hard work. And I'd also like to take this opportunity to mention that we are also always hiring drivers, and we encourage anyone interested to consider applying. Next week, we will be sharing a flyer on social media as well as in virtual backpacks with some of the specifics that I know one of our public commenters had mentioned as well, Mrs. Worth, but just about pay rate, the flexibility, all of those things. But we're looking forward to next week, just having the opportunity to reinforce those safety messages, as well as celebrating our team. Any questions, sir? That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Dr. Layden?
Yes, a couple important dates coming up. Friday morning, we have our annual municipal leader meeting. As you know, with our 9 communities, to try to provide updates and get information from our communities sometimes can be challenging with 9. So we invite the municipal leaders, an elected official, and one of their building district administrators or village administrators if they have one, to come together once a year. We share updates of what's going on within our school district. Referendum would be an important topic this year, maybe budget conversations. We'll have that with the municipal leaders, and it's also a great opportunity to hear from them what's going on with housing permits, restaurants, just different projects that we can communicate and make sure that we're aware of. So that's this Friday. Dr. Rolwing, Dr. Bogan, myself, and Board President Gonzalez attend that meeting and get feedback, receive feedback, and share feedback. And all of the municipal leaders are invited from the different communities. The next one I have, next Thursday night, the 24th, is our October CAC meeting. That is from 7 o'clock to 8:30. And again, we don't have an identified assigned board member for that committee, but any and all board members are welcome to attend. We do have Mr. Rollman that will be coming to kick off the meeting with highlights of athletics activities from the fall, and also a little bit about what's going to be happening into the winter athletics and activities. This is a topic that was brought up last spring from CAC, asking for some of those updates so that committee can be aware of it. So it's just being responsive to our parents that asked for that. And then in addition to that, Dr. Rolwing and Dr. Bogan will share a little bit of what the presentation has been for our referendum meetings that they have hosted, the focus groups that they've worked diligently to host. That will be presented to CAC, and then we'll conclude CAC with a tour of the building as well, so that CAC members can again see those that haven't been able to attend a tour, or board members that haven't been able to attend a tour that can be there to attend, ask questions, and see some of the needs and concerns at the high school in relation to the referendum. Unfortunately, also on that night is our IASB Kishwaukee Division meeting. Those, for some reason, always in October fall on that exact same night, and we've not been able to move CAC because can't move it to a Friday because there's too many conflicts on Friday and nobody would come. The other thing, then on Wednesdays and Tuesdays, there's usually preset activities that have taken place, so we end up keeping it on the third Thursday typically for CAC. It falls in line with the Kishwaukee Division meeting, but if any board members would like to go, because it's one of only 2 per year, we can figure out how to assign somebody if they do want to go. It's at Hampshire High School, and it's a legislative session update, so there are 4 state legislators that will be there. There's a little bit of a presentation and a Q&A. So if there are any board members that would like to go to the Kishwaukee Division, you should have received that through the IASB weekly updates. We can help you assist to sign up, and one of us can always attend to for a meet and greet to have you comfortable at the Kishwaukee Division meeting and or CAC. So next Thursday, there's 2 awesome opportunities for all of you to partake in professional development across the district. Those are the 2 or 3 updates that I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Rowland.
Yeah, I have a handful here. Just a reminder that we will have our board self-assessment a week from today, October 23rd at 6. This activity will be facilitated by a representative from the Kane County Regional Office of Education, and we have been working with the ROE, Dr. Layden, Board President Gonzalez, and myself to develop an agenda for that activity. I'm personally looking forward to the opportunity to work through that process. Referendum, over the last week we have surveyed our students. I assume Ms. Slattery took our survey. One of over 500 responses, which I was really happy to see. Mr. Chavez is going to work with the high school to schedule some student focus groups. We've also visited Harder Middle School and John Shields to speak with the staff. We've had some really great conversations with our staff members regarding facility needs and other referendum-related items. Between now and the next board meeting, we will host our second town hall at the Maple Park Civic Center on the 21st. So please consider attending. I'm sure it'll be a great time. I hear the speaker is fantastic. We will be meeting with community members at the CSE, as Dr. Layden indicated, and we'll visit with staff at McDowell and Blackberry Creek. So we're on a pretty aggressive timeline here. We are planning to bring back all of this information to the board during the November meetings of our, basically the 3 primary stakeholder groups that we've been working with on that. During the last switching topics here to curriculum, during the last future agenda items at our last meeting, the request to hear about curriculum was presented. In order to give the board an effective and meaningful look at that massive topic, We will be coming back with not one curriculum presentation, but rather looking to do a curriculum series. So spreading it out so it's not a marathon, giving things in kind of digestible chunks, starting with a review of the school report card, looking at overview of curriculum and curriculum processes. Those will fall in November. Looking at some comparative data with some of our nearby districts, which I know has been discussed at the table a handful of times. And then digging into English language arts in February, math in March, electives and exploratory in April, and social studies and science in May. And then we are looking to possibly do a review of how special ed services roll into all that in June. So the idea being rather than either glossing over at a 10,000 foot level or just pummeling the board and our audience with 2 hours of information, really trying to make this informative, meaningful, and kind of a learning series for the board and our friends at home. And then finally, at the meeting on October 28th, we will be bringing Ken Flory from Robin Schwartz back to discuss possible terms on an intergovernmental agreement with the Village of Sugar Grove and a discussion of possible courses of action regarding the TIF in Sugar Grove. So I know we've been looking forward to having that conversation. So Mr. Flory will be here to engage the board in questions and discussion around those items.
On the curriculum, can you get us and make available to the public electronic versions of those, as well as existing curriculum and proposed changes?
Just to be clear, the question, are you asking for electronic version of the presentations early?
Yeah, whenever they're available, in particular the elementary curriculum.
Yes.
What is here now, what is now, and what is proposed, and a basis for the changes.
Yes, we can look to pull that together, and I can report back to the board on how we plan to do that.
Okay.
Maybe that's something, I know some of it is available through our website, so working with Mr. Chavez and pushing it out through Nightly News and some of our other avenues to let parents know here's where you can go to find some of those things. So
I've had a lot of inquiries from parents and a lot of questions.
Sure.
Yeah.
Board Member Mankivsky, what I would ask is a clarification, because if it's information in the packet, that goes out on the Thursday prior to the Monday meeting typically. So is that the timeline you're looking for, or more timeline than that, or more lead time for both yourself and the community?
Given the urgency, I would say as soon as possible.
Okay.
Our state, and especially if we're going to our public, to our constituents for a referendum, to show that at the very least we're addressing real concerns out there. I would say as soon as possible, especially with what's existing now. I get question after question, and I suspect I am not the only one. And all I read through it and I get more questions. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead, Bob.
No.
I was just going to agree with you. I would say the sooner the better, just because I know this sometimes be a lot of information.
Yes.
And I know personally, I need some time to digest it all before we come to the meeting.
And I get a real sense of urgency from our public.
I agree.
That, yeah.
Thank you. Anything else, Dr. Roll?
Nope, that's all I had.
Okay.
All right, we'll proceed into topics for future agendas. I have one. I want to address it with you guys in public. There have been accusations made that we violated the Open Meetings Act by the Village of Sugar Grove president, and so I want to take this opportunity to get a pulse from the board how we feel about releasing those recordings to the public to get ahead of it, because I personally feel like we have nothing to hide, and I'd like to address it right away. So, would we want to consult with legal in terms of the proper procedure, or?
Yeah, first, and I saw two board members with thumbs up, make sure we have a consensus.
Oh, yeah.
We do have a consensus, okay. So at this point, and Mr. Kleisner, any comments on that?
Thumbs up.
Okay, thumbs up, all right, thank you. I will, Dr. Rowling and I will work with legal just to make sure we provide the update and come back with the information in a manner, because this is a unique experience, so we want to make sure that we're doing it properly, following the protocols from the Open Meetings Act and those steps. So understand what you're asking us for, and
good
we'll make
faith
sure.
effort to be fully transparent with
Yes.
what's been going on. So,
Yep.
we're all on board? Okay. Any other topics for future agendas?
As long as elementary curriculum is going to be addressed, and Dr. Rowling says that it will, it's one of those things where there's a real concern on the basis of our public coming back to us. And especially if we're going for referendum anytime soon. If we were knocking it out of the park, the referendum really wouldn't be an issue when it came down to it.
Okay.
So, I just say, keep it, make sure that the elementary is there, elementary curriculum.
Okay. Anything else?
And we don't need a consensus on that one, because we had a consensus at the last
Yeah.
meeting. So just to clarify, thank you.
Keep it.
Yes.
Sorry, this is out of turn and I'm way out of order, but Dr. Rowling, are KEA going to be part of that presentation process?
I'm sorry, which
The teachers union, are the teachers going to be a part of that?
which presentation?
The-
I
sorry,
talked about a couple of them.
Yeah,
I just want to make sure I'm answering the question.
The curriculum presentation.
I will have a discussion with KEA about what they want to do.
Okay.
I don't want to speak for KEA.
No, yeah.
Nor do I want to put them on the spot, so we have regular meetings with them, and this will come up in one of our regular meetings.
Okay. Sorry for doing out of turn, guys.
That's fine. I just want to make sure I had the right presentation.
Yeah, you're good, you're good.
Okay. Well, moving right along to public comment. We have one person signed up. Please keep in mind the guidelines as stated before. And Mrs. Masano.
Just thanks again for listening. And just so you know, it's not me harassing Bob. Okay, so I just wanted to throw that out there. But I really do.
There's a list.
I do appreciate it. As I said in my first speech, I'm excited for the future here. I really am. But I'm also learning so many things being here. I was excited to learn about the curriculum today, but now I know you have now assigned me many more board meetings to attend to learn about it. So again, I'm sorry, but thanks. I have enjoyed learning the other things we have to offer. It's super interesting. And I just wanted to say thanks again for listening and to all the comments and that everybody has. One thing though, just so you don't think I'm only picking on K through 5, learning now about the CTE moving forward, I was curious, there are 7 different areas of CTE, like 7 different kind of tracks that we can get some of that career and technical development in. One of which being information technology. I was just curious, and this is partially on me not having done my research prior to your presentation. I'm curious how we're growing in all 7 of those tracks equally, because there are many new opportunities for information technology growth, where I would hope Kaneland already has some of our agriculture, established, but again, kind of addressing all 7 of those. And I also really like how you're talking about the AP classes, of course, and the dual credit. I myself graduated from Batavian when I was able to take calculus in high school and have it count towards college credit, and that helped relieve college stress and opened up opportunities for either further growth and personalization of my college career early on. So I'm really glad that Kaneland is looking in all 3 of those areas, because I said, we're here as lifers. So thank you again for everything, and it's been a pleasure. I'll
Thank you for your
see you in future board meetings.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, the Board of Education is scheduled for a closed session to discuss the Illinois Open Meetings Act, Section 2C1, where there will be no action taken following the session. Therefore, after the vote to go into closed session, the recording of tonight's meeting will be concluded. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session to discuss Illinois Open Meetings Act 2C1 at 7:52 p.m.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Mankowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kleisner.
Aye.
Mrs. Simmons.
Aye.
Mr. Cook.
Aye.
Mr. McCauley.
Aye.
Dr. Lawler.
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Aye. All right, 7 members voting. We were now